Feldco Football REKAP Live is brought to you by Feldco. For quality windows, siding, and doors, call 866-4FELDCO, Chicago's home renewal experts. Your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers, the official truck partner of the Chicago Bears. Hooters. At Hooters, originality isn't just one thing, it's everything. World-famous wings and more, served up by the iconic Hooters girl. Hooters, always original. Dr. Pepper, an American original, just like our Chicago Bears. Grab an ice-cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you. Special Olympics Illinois. Special Olympics Illinois, so I did. Learn more at SOILL.org. Take that. Hey, welcome into Feldco Football REKAP Live, brought to you by our great partners at Feldco, Chicago and the Midwest home renewal experts. With Olin Croots, Tommy Waddle, I'm David Kaplan. Another day, another ass kicking. Bears lose 34-17. Tommy, you get to start. What was your takeaway from yesterday's debacle on the lakefront?
You know, same old, I guess. This is kind of disconnected, and I just kind of was looking at this. After watching the Cowboys beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last night, this was what I was trying to kind of process. Do you guys realize that at the point where the Cowboys in the season, they were 3-7, they have won 4 of their last 5 games? And the point I'm trying to make is even when you don't have any playoff hope, there is still stuff to play for. There's pride. There's, improvements. There's all kinds of things. I don't know what kind of coach Mike McCarthy is. Obviously never played for him. There are some good things said about him, some bad things said about him. All I know is his team has come out and played in in an environment over the last 5 weeks where there was really nothing at stake, and they won 4 out of the 5 games. And you realize the one game they lost was the Cincinnati Bengals game, where that game was tied 20-20 with about 2 minutes to go in the game. So when I kind of juxtapose, whatever the word is, compare that with what the Bears did yesterday against the Lions, where they went 3 and out, fumble, 3 and out, or punt 3. They went punt, fumble, punt, and you end up giving up over 300 yards and 27 points in the first half. I just asked myself, what's different here between two teams that are pretty much on the same plane with regard to nothing to play for?
It's fascinating, man. I don't know even what to think about when I'm watching, and they've been blown out 3 times in a row. To Tom's point, right? It's not just against the Lions, it was against the Vikings and against the 49ers. They haven't competed for a while now. So when you watch them play, you're looking to analyze, of course, the young quarterback, right? And that's what we all bail to now. It's all about the quarterback, right? I don't even know what that means. Everyone says it. So whatever, I'll say it too, right? So all about the quarterback development, because obviously that's all you need to win Super Bowls is to develop a quarterback. So the Chicago Bears right now, guys, I remember the beginning of this year saying they'll probably be 500. I felt felt positive about them. New quarterback, probably 500. Why did I have them at 500? Elite defense, elite play caller, head coach. They don't have that anymore. I don't even know what they are on that field right now, right? And if I try to sell some of the Chicago Bears, I sell them on the young quarterback because I don't know what else to say. And in games, obviously, the quarterback and the receivers are the ones you feel good about, but yeah, they have like $300 million in those positions, right? So yeah, of course, I feel good about those positions. They make some plays against the Lions secondary that's decimated by injuries and on defense. But I don't know when I watch this team and I watch penalties and I watch fumbles, I watch them hand off the ball 3 out of their first 6 plays to wide receivers instead of running back. When I'm watching it, I don't know what I'm watching anymore. I don't know what they're doing. I watched the young quarterback again. Tom can talk about it better than me, but Keenan Allen runs a simple out route, and his accuracy is not there on the first play of the game, right? But then I'm supposed to rave about the throw at the end of the half. So, okay, I guess with this team, Cap, that's what I'm excited about.
So I'll say this too, Cap. I sent you guys this text today. They were supposed to get this mythical bump by relieving Matt Eberflus of his duties. Since they fired Matt Eberflus, this team is 0-3. They've been outgained by 428 total yards. They've been outscored 102-42. That's an average of 34-14 final score. Their offense has converted 7 of 32 third downs. Their defense has allowed 20 of 38 third down conversions. Caleb's been sacked 11 times. The defense has come up with 4 sacks. Like, where was, I thought all these players were complaining about what was going on. And as soon as you got the boogeymen out of the building, that everything was going to get right. This defense is actually worse without Matt Eberflus.
The elite play caller is smoking a cigar with the Bears paycheck still coming in. He was,
a guy that spent a long time in NFL texted me today. He said, Olin, where's all the guys who had all the answers when the coach wasn't in the building? Where are they? Where are all the guys who had all the answers when the head coach was there? It looks to me like there was one elite coach in the building, and they got rid of him. But that's something you don't know from the outside looking in. But watching this team play right now, guys, if you put up, say you put up a flow chart of all the things that all the decisions that were made this year, and the head coach being gone, and the OC being gone, and not cutting Nate Davis to midseason, and all these things, all these decisions they made. If you looked at it and put up in front of you on a grease board, you wouldn't be shocked at what you watched yesterday. So that's what you would expect.
Okay, if I said to you guys, I represent Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel, pick any of them, Joe Brady, any of the guys who are the hot name, and they walked up to you and said, can we have a confidential talk, please? No microphones, no cameras. Tell me why I should and why I shouldn't take this job. What would you guys tell them?
Well, I mean, I would tell them that you could just play back my radio from the last 6 years. We've been talking about Chicago Bears and how great of a city this is and how great it would be if you won here. But also, in the next sentence, you would tell them how hard it has been to win here, how hard it has been to lay the foundation of a culture that is a winning culture and gets supported by the people in the building. Because like Tom knows, and Cap, any business you run takes more than one person. Yep. Right? It takes more than one person to run a business. So you better have a good plan in place, stick to it, and be ready to walk out if they don't let you do the things you want to do. The things you insist on, have things that you say, okay, this has to be done. If you hire me, this has to be done, and be ready to walk out and hold them to their feet to the fire, that this is the way things have to be done. Because look, the one thing they've proven is the way they do things, they don't win football games.
I can't sell you on why this is a good job. Guys, I think that whether it's Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel or Brian Flores or whoever the guy is, I think that guy is going to vet the Bears as strenuously as the Bears are going to vet the coach. Like, I mean, these guys this may be your only chance to be a head coach in the National Football League, or, with Flores, maybe your only other opportunity, whatever the case may be. Nobody wants to walk into a situation where it's so very difficult to get even the simplest of things done. So I think there's going to be as many tough questions being asked of the Bears as there are going to be tough questions asked of these candidates. So I would say, and look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Caleb has had a great year. I think his accuracy, as Olin mentioned, has not been what I anticipated it to be. But that young man, I think to be consistently good in this league, especially at that position, you have to have stability. I think consistency is aligned with stability. He's had 2 offensive coordinators, 2 head coaches. He's the most sacked quarterback in the National Football League. Some of those sacks are his, yes, but the offensive line in front of him isn't good enough. So, I mean, I could still sell a coach, whether it's Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel. I could still sell you on Caleb Williams.
I love the names, man. I love the names. They were just some guy, Tom. Tom, to your point, I was talking through the other day, and I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm a rookie offensive lineman, and they come in and they say, Olin, we're firing your O-line coach. He's out of here. Okay, cool. We're firing your head coach. He's out of here. Okay, cool. We're going to move this guy down at the O-line. We're going to give you a new OC. And then to think that you're going to play good football in the chaos that's going on around you. I mean, at some point, I hate to take the blame off of the players and the way they're playing with the way they talk this year, but I really don't know how you operate at a high level when all that stuff is going on around you, especially if you're a young quarterback, which everyone knows is an impossible position to play in the NFL. And I'm not giving him a pass. I mean, I'm as hard on players as anybody else. But when I talked it through the other day, and I was like, man, like, what if they fired, Kavanaugh and Tony Wise mid-season in my first year? It'd be chaos for me. There'd just be a new voice. Okay, now we're going to run this system, but use this words. And it's just hard to imagine what the young quarterback has been through this year and trying to perform on a high level. And look, he has to work on his under center game. It's terrible, right? He doesn't do a good job under center. They don't run outside zone anymore. Coach Morgan is an outside zone coach. They don't boot off that. Their boot details, selling the boot, Swift and the quarterback is terrible. Anytime he drops him under center, it looks like he's taking the wrong steps. He has a lot to work on, which you think he would, being a quarterback coming from the gun, right? But just the fact of, here's this a pass game coordinator, Cap. What did he say? I don't know. I haven't really talked to him much. Oh, right on. Awesome. We'll put him in charge of not only the offense,
the
but
whole
the
team.
whole team. Yeah.
It's insanity.
It really is, man.
Well, and add to the equation, guys. And again, I could argue that the defense has been a bigger problem than the offense, which is a tough argument considering the offense failed to score a point in 3 straight games in the first quarter. But defensively, they're giving up, 34 a game the last 3 or 4 games. And you've asked Eric
horrible.
You've asked Eric Washington to call defensive plays. He hasn't called defensive plays since 5, 6, 7 years ago. So to Olin's point, and again, I've been with you, Olin. I think the players were given a pass a while ago. I think these players need to assume as much responsibility as the coaching staff does. But you've asked a group of coaches to come in and fill roles that they weren't hired to fill when the season began. It's just the chaos is unparalleled in the league.
You haven't seen it before, right? And I know, like, the positive spin is Caleb looks good on those 2 drives, right? And it gives you promise and hope. But we came into this year and said a quarterback has never been dropped into a better situation, ever, right? This was the thing that was said over and over again. And when you looked at it, you're like, yeah. I mean, I said, I don't know if I've ever seen more talent at the skill positions for the Chicago Bears ever. Right, there was all of this promise, and yet the foundation found a way to crumble after 1 game. Right, after 1 Hail Mary, the foundation you had and you stood on crumbled, and your team is falling apart. 9 straight losses, man, from 4-2. Look, I know the Hail Mary was a tough play, but if your foundation, your culture is strong, you'll come back. Right, you'll find a way to win football games. And their O-line hasn't been good, and the middle of the D-line's decimated with Javon Dexter and Billings out now. And he shows up during games. But to lose 9 in a row, guys, I mean, I don't got to tell you guys. That's hard to do in the NFL, man. It really is. We lost 8 before, and it was hard to do. But we were driving to Champaign every week, and we were close in a lot of games, just like these Bears are. But 9 in a row, man, that is a tough thing to accomplish.
You look at the Washington game, guys, and I'm baffled. Like, I get it. It was a dramatic loss. I get it. It was a devastating loss. But if you have any character at all as a group, you pick yourself up. I mean, you go to the desert and you don't get boat raced by the Cardinals, and then you don't come home and get dominated by a bad Patriots team. Like, I couldn't believe how fragile that team was. Like, there was zero leadership from the players or from the coaches. Again, I bring you back to what I talked about at the top of the show. You think the Dallas Cowboys could have packed it in at 3-7? Dak was gone. You're playing Cooper Rush, for Christ's sake. And yet they've won 4 of their last 5 games, and they lost a tight game to a really talented Bengals game. And I'm not putting the Cowboys on a pedestal. I'm just saying, when you are mired in adversity, like, you define yourself. And I think the Cowboys have done it a little bit, and our Bears just continue to go down that rabbit hole.
If you look at this team, again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too optimistic. Maybe it's the fan in me that grew up here. I feel like they can be – I'm not telling you they're going to the Super Bowl next year, but I feel like if they go out and really invest a top 10 pick on a tackle and a second-round pick on a guard, and they spend money on the best available center, somebody who, as Olin said to me when they signed Coleman Shelton, this is not a shot at Coleman Shelton. You get what you pay for. Don't buy a 2017 Regal and think you can win the Indy 500. He can only do what he can do. But if they did all that, got Billings back, drafted an edge guy, signed somebody, I feel like they can be a 9-8 team, 8-9. This is insanity what we're watching.
Go ahead, Tom.
No, I was just going to say, if the queen had balls, she'd be the king. I mean, you gave me a whole lot of. Gave me a whole lot.
Yes, she would be.
But you've got cap room and you've got,
and that's okay nowadays.
Yes.
Right.
Wow. It's changing, Olin.
I'm just. My point is like you've laid out a lot of things, Cap, that have to go right, and then. Not just that, but the guys that are in charge, the coaches that you hire have to be given the ability to make all those changes and do all those things. I'm very curious how this whole thing is going to play out because my assumption is that Ryan Poles is going to get an opportunity to hire this next coach. When that next coach comes in, what kind of input does that coach have with regard to the evaluation of the roster? Because Ryan's going to be inclined to go to bat for his own guys, isn't he? Like I said last week, I come in here if I'm a new coach or I have a new position, I'm coming in with a glass half empty approach, not a glass half full, and just think that this is all going to change because we have better coaching. I got to go over every one of these players and evaluate them and make sure that this roster is where it needs to be and add where I have to add.
Well, Cap, draft tackle in the first round, you said, right? Darnell Wright. Sign a guard, you said, right? Nate Davis. Sign a center, you said, right? Ryan Bates. I mean, Lucas Patrick, right? I mean, I want it to be true. Just like you. I really do, man. No one wants them to turn this around. You just want to go up there and say, guys, like, try to do it right one time.
One time.
Let Ryan Poles hire the head coach. Step back. Let him hire his guy. Let him draft that guy. If you're going to keep Ryan, right? If not, if you want to do it right, fire everybody, hire a general manager, and let him run that side of the building. One time, try it out, man. Like last year, we talked about on this podcast, right? We're going to hire an offensive coordinator, and I love Coach Morgan, but we're keeping Coach Morgan. What? I'm confused. The OC has to hire his O-line coach. That's his most important position. The O-line coach is the most important position on offense. It just goes back to you're doing it the wrong way to start. How do you expect it to work, right? Ryan Poles comes in. Here's your 3 finalists. What? What are you guys talking about? Oh, no, don't worry about it. Bill Polian checked them out. Oh, shit. Well, shit. Hey, well, Bill Polian checked them out. Since he won in Indianapolis, it's got to work here. Like, just one time, guys. Like go all the way back to Dave McGinnis and Dick Geron on an airplane. Put it all up on a board. Keep coming back to the board and say, you know what? Are we going down this path again? Strangely, let's get away from this, right? Right? Like, remember how they got to Lovie Smith? They wanted Nick Saban. Saban said no because he wanted all the power from Jerry Angelo. That's how they got to him. That's how they got to Lovie. Trust me. Phil Emery, Fox. I mean, guys, this goes on, man. And here we are again. And they're about to do it to us again.
All right, let's talk about Caleb Williams. It's brought to you by our friends at Hooters. Caleb Williams winging it. Best wings in the country are at Hooters. We have one more show, by the way, in Melrose Park coming up in early January. Caleb Williams, 26 of 40, 334 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and he ran for 34 yards. If you guys had to give him a grade, Olin, give me a grade on Caleb. Tommy, a grade yesterday.
C. I'm going to give him a good, solid C in the way he controlled things. I think some of those pre-snap penalties were on him and the way he was controlling and his rhythm and his tempo. Some of those false starts is him controlling it, but that's what happens with young quarterbacks, and you get 2 new offensive linemen in the game, right? And Curran and Larry Barman. I'm sure we'll get to the fact, how the hell did Karan Amagaji not get a jersey yesterday? I was speechless when I heard that. Yeah. I think, Cap, that he can really work on playing from under center. The handoff to Odunze, again, that's under center, getting the ball out, putting it where it's supposed to be. There was that drive, right? I think it was like the 4th to 5th drive of the game. He hit Odunze on 3rd and 4th down. Man, those are throws now. I don't know. I mean, Tom can talk about those and the catch from Odunze, and it was something to watch. But Caleb, like he has to get a lot better, but I just don't. Day-to-day, Thomas Brown, Kerry Joseph, Beatty. He's doing I'll give him a B now after I talked my way through that.
Yeah, I was going to
That's
say
what I had.
I give him a B minus, because again, guys, they only scored 17 points, and I still think accuracy is a bit of an issue here. There are times when he does hold the ball a little bit too long. He's in control of a lot of stuff, and when you only put 17 on the board, and a lot of what they were doing, let's face it, guys, was in trail position, and when that happens, the defense exhales, and it does make life a little bit easier on you. Now, he did make some really good throws. There were some good catches and runs out there. I'm with Olin. I think they need to get back to the basics with him and work on his fundamentals. You see when his accuracy struggles, and he's only completing 62% of his passes this year. You got to be completing 66, 67, 68 in this league at this time, especially with the number of wide receiver screens they're throwing, which are just layups. So that's going to boost your completion percentage. That's got to go up. His accuracy really tails off and takes a hit when his fundamentals get out of whack, whether it's in Minnesota and he played a little frantic, his feet aren't underneath him, his base isn't solid, and the ball starts to float. It doesn't go where it needs to go. I think there's still a lot for him to work on that front. But you see the arm strength, and you see his ability to get the ball where it needs to go at times. You see his ability to escape the rush and create a little extra time to throw the ball. I think with better coaching and more experience and a little bit better crew around him, at least up front, I still feel strongly that this kid is going to be a really good player in this league.
Mm-hmm.
So if the phone rang, Olin, it rang at your palatial home, and it was a guy you played against who went, I got that to knock your earpiece out.
I know, that threw me off, man.
And he called you. You played against him. He's a great football man. He says, Olin, off the record, Bears have offered me the job. I've also been offered that job and that job. Be honest with me. Should I take it? What would you tell your dear friend?
Yeah, I'm biased though, Cap, man. Like, obviously we're all frustrated. The Bears, I played here for 13 years. I live here. The city is amazing. The fans are amazing. It's still Hallis Hall, right? It still really is. I mean, but I tell him everything he'd have to do, but I tell him you'd be crazy not to try to take a shot to win in Chicago, man. Like, to take a shot to be in this city. Look, I know a lot of guys who got drafted in other cities, other towns, and when they come here and, like you said, I live in Lake Forest, and they see the city of Chicago, and we all know the way Bear fans support the team and the way it is when you win here. And if you get a chance to go Chicago Bears, it's hard to say no, but it's also hard to win here. And I know what point you're trying to get to, but I'd probably tell them, man, like, head coach of the Chicago Bears,
Take a shot.
Take a shot, man.
I agree. Absolutely. For all the reasons Olin mentioned, are there some things stacked against you? Yes. You would be hoping beyond hope and maybe blind hope that some of those things would be fixed. And we've seen them, be an issue for years and years and years. And finally, they're going to change their ways in a lot of areas. Again, that's just hope. But if you can find a way to be the one that can win and win consistently here, I can't imagine it's a whole lot better anywhere else. And I think, guys, if you do find a way to win with that new coach, I think it'll be symbolic that maybe some stuff has changed up there. And if that's the case and they start doing things more normally, and you can be a perennial winner and a team that's doing it each and every year, like there's no better place to be a winner, but there's no better place to be a winner consistently than this town because of the fans and the atmosphere in the city. So I got to be honest with you guys, as much as I love the team, I'm very skeptical, and it's only because of how I've seen things go over the course of the last couple of decades. I hope that they're going to get it right this time. I hope that they have learned from their mistakes, but you predict the future by looking to the past, and the past is pretty dreary.
It's like, Cap, I don't know how you feel, but people ask me everywhere I go, obviously we do this work, what do you think about the Bears? How fast can they turn around? Can a coach come over and make a difference? And you're like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know who's going to be in the building next year. And you're asking me what they're going to be like next year, right? Like, what if they hired this coach that walks in, and we talked about last week, like, how hard can you actually be on players nowadays, right? You can't go two-a-days anymore. You can't keep them in the building for hours. You can only put them in pads for 11 or 14 practices a year. Like, I think Thomas Brown has got them doing walkthroughs most of the time right now. So
He does.
I guess by mean, you mean I'm gonna say, like, you have to do your job. Right. I don't know. I guess that's mean nowadays, right? Like that's not good enough. Let's repeat that play. So, it's funny. How are they going to turn what we're watching on film right now, right? How are they going to turn that all around? Who are they going to put in that building? Who are they bringing on? Like Tevin Jenkins, you guys know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, the line that he was getting run over by the Lions, I could have told you that he was going to be out this week. Like, how do you not predict that when you're watching that stuff, right? How do you not predict the fact that his body is giving out on him? So it's just interesting to me to watch and to think about, okay, how do they really like define, how do they turn this around?
You know what's interesting, guys? And it's kind of hard to even go through this process. But first of all, you realize the Vikings, this is the second year in 3 years that they've won 13 games.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to win 14 games more than likely this year. The Detroit Lions are going to win 14 games this year, and this year alone. The Bears currently have 14 wins over the last 3 seasons. And by the way, when the Bears hired Matt Eberflus, Kevin O'Connell was hired by the Vikings 22 days later.
And the Bears never even interviewed him.
Didn't even bring him in. So, I mean, those types of things, realizations, are the things that really keep you skeptical. Why did the Vikings get it right with their head coach and some of the stuff that they've done? And you could see what good coaching could do for someone. Sam Darnold was adrift at sea, so to speak. I think he probably got back on track a little bit being in the building with the 49ers last year. That doesn't hurt any quarterback. But now, he's got a good coach and he's playing good football. Why not us?
Our Dr. Pepper play of the game. Dr. Pepper, you can get a delicious Dr. Pepper. I like the zero sugar coconut at the McDonald's location near you. Caleb Williams, he's gone over 300 consecutive completions without an interception. Do you guys believe, and that is the Dr. Pepper play of the game, do you guys believe that is a oh my God stat? It's one of the top 10 in the history of the league. Or no, he doesn't take enough chances. I'd rather he got picked a couple times, because I heard that on, I think, First Take or Get Up this morning.
Those shows, man, they are something nowadays. They got some takes now. It's Ryan Clark, Aaron Rodgers. I heard Shannon Sharp going off on Kirk Herbstreit today. They're going crazy on. Anyway, I think it's a pretty impressive stat, man. He's throwing the ball sometimes. Now, there's been some, when you're watching it, some drop interceptions, but everyone has those, right? I think that it's to the point of that's how hard he's trying to play the position correctly, right? It really is. And you got to give him credit for not turning that ball over. Obviously, there was 2 fumbles yesterday that changed the whole game. But as far as interceptions go, he's throwing the ball enough now to throw interceptions, and he's still not. So you got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, he's taking care of the football, as Olin said. 19 touchdowns, five picks. I think he's been credited with 5 fumbles, but he's been credited with the one, like Olin talked about with Rome yesterday, and then they gave him the one with Doug Kramer down in the at the goal line against Washington. So, that was part of his issue, I think, last year at USC, if I'm not mistaken. He was trying to do so much, and sometimes fumbles were a problem. But I think for a guy who's been sacked as much as he's been sacked and has thrown it as much as he's thrown it, he's really done a nice job taking care of the football. I think the numbers are down a little bit too. Like, I don't know how you guys feel, but some of the accuracy issues downfield are really the things that surprised me most this year. He hit that whole shot yesterday to Kanan on that, he threw that ball. That's the first time I think I've seen him throw that ball all year accurately. Mm-hmm. That one he threw it hot, but it wasn't 40 feet in the air. Like, he threw that ball where it needed to go. I think there's been 10, 12, 14, 16 of those opportunities and different shots down the field.
And he's airmailed it.
Right. And most quarterbacks throw that up for grabs at times and allow their receivers to try to make a play. And every now and again, a defensive player will come down with a football. Well, Caleb has sailed it over his receiver and the cornerback's head. So I think that there have been moments, especially pushing the ball downfield, where he's thrown an uncatchable ball regardless of the jersey you're wearing.
And there was the one to DJ Moore yesterday, too. I just couldn't figure out what happened, right?
Yeah.
Caleb looked frustrated. DJ looked frustrated. He just threw it up. deep. And I don't know if Caleb was coming across the field, but he threw it straight. And just a lot of confusion on these deep balls this year, and whether it be wide receivers all in the same spot. It just seems, I don't know if it's him struggling or someone like, Tom, the really good football coaches, or, Cap or basketball, whatever, they take the chaos out of the game for you so you can just play. So you can just line up and play, and look, if they show you this, go here with the ball. And it just seems like there's so much chaos involved in what he's doing, especially with the deep ball. They haven't been on the same page this year. And to Tom's point, that ball yesterday, it was good to see because we just haven't seen it much.
Yeah, and if you're going to underthrow, listen, I would always tell, especially with as Olin has said, we've got $1 billion invested in our wide receivers, right? So what they need to do is if you're going to miss that throw, miss it short and to the outside. Throw it to a point where at least you give your receiver a chance. Will one or two of them be picked off? Sure. That's the nature of the beast. Everyone throws interceptions. But if you don't give anyone an opportunity, we should feel comfortable with our receivers matched up against other corners because of how much we've invested in these receivers. And if we don't feel confident that they can go up and make plays based on how much we've invested in them, then we've overspent. So you need to, I would be telling Caleb at the very least, give your receiver an opportunity to catch these shots down the field, even if it becomes a contested ball where a defensive back can get a hand on it. Because there are two things that can happen, good things that can happen, guys. You can make that catch, or you can draw a pass interference penalty. But when you sail it three freaking, levels into the stands, you're never going to get a pass interference call on a throw like that.
There was that throw last night. I'm looking here. His name was Donovan Wilson. He comes up with that interception in the Tampa Bay Dallas game.
Yeah.
I don't mind if he throws that pick, right? Yeah. It's a 50-50 ball. Two guys are fighting for it. And I think to Tom's point, that kind of pass, you want to see more of those, especially with he threw that one to Odunze this week. Gave him a 50-50 ball, and Odunze came down with it. But just more of those kind of balls where you're putting it where, okay, it's 50-50, but since we're giving our receivers all this money, we expect them to win most of those throws.
Our our Chevy drive of the game. I gave it to the first touchdown drive, 14 plays, 70 yards, and Cole Kmet came off a milk carton and caught a 1-yard touchdown from Caleb Williams. Good to see Cole Kmet get targeted, because holy cow, I'm not telling you this dude's George Kittle, but my God, we go weeks without throwing a ball in his direction.
Well, to that, guys, I would say the following. It's sometimes if you're open on that little Y stick route, that's the quarterback's decision not to throw it to it. The second thing I would say is when you run 3 receiver sets with the tight end and your receivers are DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze, your quarterback's more likely to throw to them and not to the tight end. So these numbers are going to go down for sure.
Coco, man.
If George McCaskey walked into a men's locker room.
Our viewers are just about as sick as this as us.
There's no
like Coco Met, man. I mean, wow, this year's been an interesting year. I mean, I'd love to talk to the guy and just be okay, what's going on with your run blocking, man? You're just he's struggling on the edges. He's 2 or 3 yards in the backfield on every play. He hasn't been throwing the ball a lot, but there's been drop passes, right? And as Tom said, it is good to see him catch the ball there. And again, an under center play action back to the defense. He got a late release. He gets out. He did one of those, I think, last week against Minnesota too. He gained 14 yards. More plays like that, right? More plays from under center. This is what Caleb needs to work on, I think. And it's just we haven't seen him all year. At the time, there's so many options out there, but just not one of his better years, right? Not one of his best years this year. And then that it's hard to play good football when everybody around you is playing bad, but it's just been a tough year.
Look, Cole's more of an inline wide tight end. He's not going to be Hawkinson. He's not going to be Kittle. That's going to threaten the middle of the field and get the best of safeties and nickel corners. That's just not, they try to do that with him with Nagy. Go back and look at his first couple of years. He really was ineffective. And then they started to use him and take advantage of his skill set. He's 6'6", he's 260. He's a good inline tight end who plays well in the red zone. He's an excellent red zone threat. But again, when you go back and you add Keenan Allen, you're always in a 3 wide receiver set. So the role of the tight end, especially if you're not Kittle, is going to be diminished. So I'm not shocked in the slightest that his numbers are down. And by the way, Cap, if you gave me a vote on what the drive of the day it was, if it wasn't Bears related, it was the first drive of the second half when Detroit took the ball down the field and put the Bears out of their misery with the opening drive of the second half, and they ran that little stumble-rooski.
That was unbelievable.
That to me was a drive that just basically, if there was any hope and there was any whatever, they just ripped the Bears' heart out in that drive.
Well, they ran that, and the last time we played them, they handed the ball to Penei Sewell to throw.
Yeah.
I mean, they just toy with us.
Hey, how about when Jameson Williams just ran? I mean, that is speed, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he ran. It wasn't like nobody bit on the run, right? They were in cover 3. I mean, Byard came down late, but Jonathan Owens was deep. Tyreek Stevenson was like 8-9 yards off, and this guy just ran by them. Crazy. Yeah. They have a lot of talent on that offense, man. It's a fun offense to watch.
The funny thing I would tell you too, Olin, is like if you look at how they're made offensively, they run with Williams and they run with Amon-Ra St. Brown, but they really don't have that third receiver. Tim Patrick, I think, has come in and done some stuff, but Laporta fills that role. So going back to the Cole Kmet thing, if your tight end is basically your third receiver like Laporta, your numbers are going to be up. Cole's a fourth option on most routes. So, it's kind of how the offense has been put together.
And a pass catching back, right? It's just
yeah.
That's what Swift is. So it's an interesting design of an offense. I don't know if Waldron had input on who he wanted here. And remember, they wanted Gerald Everett as their pass catching option, right? They did. I don't even think they had plans. When you say that, Tom, with the way they put together the offense, I don't think they had plans on throwing the ball to Cole Kmet at all.
I don't either. And think about what they've spent. They spent $6 million a year on Everett. They spent $8 on Swift, and they spent $2 on Mercedes. Do the math. That's $16 million in a group of players that, Swift has given you something, but Swift hasn't given you what Josh Jacobs has given the Packers. Swift hasn't given you, obviously, what Joe Mixon has given Houston or Barkley's given the Eagles. So, it's a lot of money to spend. You could have appropriated those funds to the offensive line and secured some things up there, but they decided that they were weapon happy and they wanted to continue to spend money on guys.
All right, we got to take a quick timeout. We'll come back. It's Feldco Football REKAP Live with Olin and Tommy. I'm Cap. Be right back.
Our Midwestern winters bring the toughest elements. Let the experts at Feldco keep your home and your family warm, safe, and comfortable this winter. Right now, get 30% off windows, siding, doors, and roofing. Plus, no interest for 1 year. With high-quality, American-made products built specifically for Midwestern weather, Feldco's got you covered. 30% off ends soon. Hurry. Call now.
Call 866 for Feldco.
Apt. For the best appliances for football season, shop at Apt. Pleasing people since 1936. Find them at apt.com. 4 Seasons, heating, plumbing, air conditioning, and electric. For all the right reasons, 4 Seasons. When you're on the Tollway, peace of mind is just a call away. With the Illinois Tollway Star 999 service, help is always at your fingertips. Whether it's a flat tire or an unexpected breakdown, our dedicated team is here to assist you anytime and anywhere on the Tollway. Drive with confidence knowing that Star 999 is just a dial away. Remember, Star 999, we're always there when you need us. All right, app player of the game, app.com. Promo code's right there on the screen. Save $25 on any purchase, $150 or more, Kaplan 25. I gave it Caleb Williams for the Bears, Jared Goff, who was magnificent for the Detroit Lions. What did you guys think of Jared Goff? Because, holy cow, this guy, since he got to the Motor City, has looked, in my opinion, phenomenal.
Yeah, I would say I was surprised, guys. I really was. The history of Goff, especially outdoors here in Chicago, hasn't been great. Remember when he came in? I think it was a Thursday night or a Monday night game when he was with the Rams and
2018.
Yeah, struggled with there, and I think he struggled last year. I think he threw 3 interceptions in the game here against the Bears. I think he threw 2 in their game last year against them. So I think he threw 5 picks in the 2 games against the Bears. So he struggled a little bit against this defense. I thought he would have a little more trouble with the elements yesterday, but I think what you saw was a team that was really well coached, that was really focused because of the loss they had just endured the week before in Buffalo. There was no chance, with Buffalo, there was no chance they were going to let down, knowing that they've got to keep pace with Minnesota if they want to win this division. So he played great. I thought they were well prepared and they executed their plan.
Yeah, he played really well. And the weather obviously wasn't as bad as we hoped it would be down there on the lakefront. But, when you average over 4 yards a carry with all running backs for the Lions, it's a very comfortable game plan for him, right? Very comfortable, just play action pass. There wasn't much pressure on him all day. The interior of the Bears defensive line, guys, if you watch it from the sideline, they're just getting shoved back right now by a very good offensive line, obviously, in the Detroit Lions. But a comfortable game for him. Play action pass, not a lot of 3rd and longs, not under a lot of pressure. There's a lot of Lions fans. There's not a lot of crowd noise. I think they were chanting his name, from what I understand, all game. So just never really made golf uncomfortable. I think the most shocking thing about this segment was the fact that I don't know how Caleb Williams ended up as co-player of the game, but whatever. We're just looking for anything nowadays. We'll make. I think the Bears scored 3 points in the second half, but their quarterback is co-player of the game, along with a guy who scored 34 points. Cap, I don't know what's going on our show anymore.
Who you want me to give it to?
Well, nobody.
I got to give it to a Bear.
I got you
too.
Corey Taylor. At least we can punt. At least we can punt, man.
That was Waddle's guy in the 4th round, man.
No.
Go there. When the pick was made, I was the first one to say that's an arrogant draft pick. That's a pick that a guy
Tom makes. I said on the score, someone said that, and I couldn't. It was Tom. Now I know who said it. I said that, there were Karan Amagashi, another arrogant pick. Yeah. Right. It's kind of crazy when you look at the way this thing has played out, man. It's just.
Olin, you mentioned this earlier. Talk me through this. So Amagashi is starting as a left tackle in a very difficult environment on Monday night in Minneapolis. You put him on Caleb's blind side. On the first 4th down and 1, you pitch to his side. Okay. And he got stalemated along with Cole Kmet. I believe a few series later, on a 3rd down, you ask him to go one-on-one with Jonathan Grenard, who ends up with a sack and fumble. So you felt comfortable putting him on the field against that group and that environment, but you weren't comfortable to have him dressed as a backup on Sunday, yesterday, against a Lions team that has been decimated by injuries. What is that? You tell me, what thought goes through your mind when you see that?
I literally, first of all, I read that they were working out Tevin Jenkins and checking his injury. And I thought to myself, first off, with Tevin Jenkins' history, if I have to work him out before the game, I'm just going to tell him, big guy, you're not suiting today. I got to get guys that's going to be here the whole game.
That you can rely on. I got to get guys,
that I'm going to rely on. And it's nothing personal. I just look at your history and know you're not going to finish this game, right? And then when Karan, honestly, Tom, when they announced that Karan was not even suiting up, I was speechless on the pregame show. I didn't even know what to say. That pissed me off so much that they did that to that young tackle, that they put him on the field, like you said. They leave him one-on-one with Jonathan Grenard on the 29-yard line in a whiteout in Minnesota. Yes. The crowd noise crazy. And then say, and then have the nerve to say at the podium the next day, and I'm not jumping. Like I said, Thomas Brown was given a lot to do. But to have the nerve to say, we give help sometimes, but we got to be careful giving help. Well, that would be the time, right? 39 on the 29 on the road. That would be the time to give your young left tackle help versus $76 million DN. That would be the moment, right? But then you come back after selling us on, he beat Larry Borum out in walkthroughs during the week, right? You sold us on that he elevated his play. And obviously Ryan Poles put him out there and nobody wants to say it. But then the next week he's inactive. Mind you, Tevin Jenkins is not finishing the game. right? That's what I'm saying about this team. But to your just a simple question, Tom, I have no idea, man. I have no clue how you go from him playing to him not even suiting up to giving. I mean, I had to look up the backup center's name. He had a jersey on the day. Is Curry going to be here next year? Like what? I mean, he's playing left guard. Larry Boron's been a good player for us, but we thought Larry Boron should start in Minnesota. You told us Karan beat him out. So when did Borom earn that back? I don't know.
Walk through. He earned it back, and walked through.
They're not even in pads.
They're
not even in pads.
And I was told what Olin said is exactly accurate, that Ryan Poles went to them and said, Amagaji's starting in Minnesota.
Did Ryan Poles go to them and say, I want him not even dressed on Sunday?
Great question, Tom.
Hey, where is Ryan Poles, man? Tell the guy, give me a call. I got a lot of questions for Ryan, man. First of all, after seeing his film, I got to work on his pass set first.
I don't think, don't ask a question you don't know or want the answer to. I don't think he wants the answer.
All right, so I have a question. If you were giving advice to George, Kevin, the brain trust up there, and I use that term very loosely, and they said, okay, we can get Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel, whoever it is, but they want to know, if they come here, is that GM going to be here, or are you going to fire him in a year if we don't have a good year? Because I'm not coming here to have a new GM come in unless I'm the guy picking him. Would you extend Poles or fire him? I think that's your only two options.
Tough answer, man. It really is, because he drafted the quarterback, right? I mean, I know I said earlier, I like to see them do it right once, right? Start all over again, hire the GM, let him hire the coach, get out of the way, let the football side run the football side. So, if they choose to keep Ryan Poles, Cap, you got to extend him, right? You got to give him a contract with the coach, allow him to build the team. But he built the team for Matt Eberflus, and he's gone. So this defense, what's going on with Jaquan Brisker? Where does Kyler Gordon fit in a different defense, right? He's a nickel back in a Rondé Barber mode. Where does he fit in? So it's an interest. Again, Tom, here we are again, and you don't have an answer. I'd start all over again. Yeah. I would. But if I kept Ryan Poles, I would let him hire everybody and just say, look, he's our guy. That way, nothing muddied the water. I knew who made the decisions.
I agree with you 100%. If you are going to keep him, then you can't neuter him. You got to let him pick the coach, and then you got to let him do what he needs to do, and then he fails or succeeds based on his decisions. If you came to me and said, as Olin mentioned, like, what we need to do is finally get everyone on the same schedule, I would totally understand. Look, I'm a little uncomfortable that they made the coaching decision that they made. I knew, my dumb ass knew at the end of last year, if you're going to draft Caleb Williams 1 overall, the best thing you need to do is separate yourself from the existing head coach and put this kid on the same timeline with a new head coach, because you don't want to get yourself into the situation that eventually manifests itself so far this year. Even I knew that the offensive line wasn't stout enough. Even I knew that they didn't have enough pass rush on the other side of Montez Sweat. If my dumbass knows all of this, how can the general manager not know this, especially when you're trying to bring a quarterback, not just any quarterback, but the first pick of the draft, you're trying to bring him along. And then again, you look at this past draft and okay, you chose a receiver 9. Okay, I'm good with that, but you've got to address the offensive line in other ways. You drafted a project at 3 and a punter at 4. And at this point, Booker at 5 is a guy with some upside, but he's got he's the king of penalties. So, like, I guess the point I'm making is if Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel or whoever it is comes in and says, look, I'm not 100% comfortable with what the personnel decisions have been and would be going forward, I think you got to listen to that guy. So it's kind of tricky if you move forward with Ryan. I get it. But if you also decided to separate and go in a different direction, I'd understand that as well. Look, I'm not for calling for guys' jobs. I know how hard this business is, and you can fail for a while and then find your way, especially if you're young and you're trying to do it. But if Cap, you said to me, I've got to make this decision, I would be inclined to start over and try to get everybody on the same page.
And if it's Ben Johnson and he brings Ray Agnew or whoever with him, or Vrabel says, I got a guy, that's probably the way it has to go, simply because of where you're at.
At some point, don't we got to get on the same timeline, guys, where everyone's kind of matched up and kind of together?
When you got drafted, there was no GM, correct?
No, there wasn't a GM, and then there was a guy. Mark Hatley was acting.
Like
he didn't have the GM title,
right?
Yeah, but he was player personnel, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I guess I would just dare the Chicago Bears to study their history, to define for themselves why they failed, to change that, and then define it. When you talk about player development, like, make sure people can define what they're telling you. Like, telling you what would you do different with a guy like Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Jaquan Brisker? How would you, Javon Dexter? What would you do different? How would you help them develop their game, take the next step so we can win football games, right? Because, the head coach comes in, he's got to bring his trainers, he's got to bring his strength staff, he's got to bring all these guys. And really what usually happens is, if you want to know who Ben Johnson's strength coach is going to be, just look at the Lions assistant strength coach. He'll be here, right? And what's his plan on training players, and what does he believe in, and how does he get guys strong, keep them strong throughout the year? How does Ryan Post plan to win in Chicago is my question.
How did you get developed? Tommy, you go farther back. It was the Ditka run. Team was, loaded with Hall of Fame talent. But Olin, how did you get developed from a third-round pick to a Hall of Fame level player? What was player development that much different back then?
I had a huge leverage point where I came from. My grandfather had a gym under his house, and Dominic Raiola, everybody knows his son Dylan Raiola at Nebraska. Everybody knows the name. And Dominic played at Detroit for 14 years. His brother Donovan, who's now the O-line coach in Nebraska, played at Wisconsin, offensive line, played in the NFL for 7 years. Shane Oliveira is another guy I trained with. He's a UH, all WAP. Anyway, at my grandfather's house, we had a gym, and we trained together for years. Right. And that's how we developed our strength and our game. And I got to know guys like Tunch Ilkin through Bob Wiley. I got to meet Harry Heastan, Tony Wise, and just kind of collected all these information from these guys, studied film. I remember thinking one day, guys, I don't know what Tom thinks, but I went to reach Mike Wells. Mike Wells is the nose guard for Chicago Bears, big, strong man. When I walked in the gym the first day, he was benching 560. I went to reach him. He threw me on my head about 8 yards in the backfield. And I immediately thought to myself, well, there's somebody who can make that block. And it was Tom Naylor. All right, I studied Tom Naylor's film. And, he ran out. He did outside zone for the Denver Broncos. He went from practice squad to an all-pro. And I said to myself, he must have figured something out. Right, I studied his footwork. I studied everything he did. I watched his film and kind of developed my game. And through that and the strength program I had through my grandfather, and I got lucky to have some coaches, that's player development, Cap. I had a leverage point where I trained with great people. Luckily, my best friend, I knew Dominic since we've been like 8 and 9 years old. We've trained together that long. And imagine that. We played 14 years in the same division and got to train every offseason with each other, push each other, develop each other, create an atmosphere and a culture that creates tough centers.
Tommy Nalen, BC too. Tom Nalen was a Boston College kid. Played for forever. Was a great player.
Hell of a center, man. Yeah. Hell of a center. And he had Alex Gibbs, right?
Yeah.
The godfather of the outside zone. So I just put, 2 + 2 is 4 everywhere. So I just said, oh, man, let me watch this guy who's about my size. Let me watch him block big nose guards. And sure enough, he had a style that I could relate to.
Unfortunately, Cap, I don't have the same story as Olin. There aren't as many very slow, unathletic wide receivers in the league. So there's really there's no gym or there's no camp for those guys like us. They just cut us. But my first,
you got to start the first one. You got the first camp for slow, unathletic wide receivers.
I'm going to start it. Yeah. Vic Rapp was my wide receivers coach. Okay. I walked in. Vic was a center at Missouri. And I'm looking in the room like, what the fuck can Vic tell me about playing wide receiver? He was a center at Missouri. So you just kind of back in the day, you just learned as you went along. And what you would do is you would follow the lead of some of the guys in the room that definitely were very talented. But, there was no camp for slow, unathletic receivers. No chance for that.
By the way,
but like, Cap, to finish this off, to what Tom is saying, back in the day, right? Like, we can't find anybody. Again, go to ChicagoBears.com. Look how many strength coaches, director of sports performance, director of nutrition, director of, look how many people they're paying to develop football players there. And look how bad of a job they're doing.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Brutal.
Our last two things. The Special Olympics special teams player of the game. I did this for you guys because I knew you'd love it. Jack Fox. He punted one time with 6 minutes to go in the game for the Detroit Lions. He had the easiest job in football yesterday. Jack Fox is our Special Olympics Illinois special teams player of the game. When voices tell us you can't or you won't, we simply say I did. Special Olympics Illinois. So I did. Learn more at SOILL.org. Special Olympics Illinois. So I did.
Cap, you can reserve that award for the opponent's punter every week if you'd like.
I can. 100%. But we have our highly compensated fourth-round punter.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, man. Like the Chicago Bears, they have more connections than we have, right? And you call around, and this isn't to take a shot at the guys on the staff because, like you guys know, I know most of them, and it's not the job they came here to do.
Right.
But no one would come right out and say it. But when I called them about the new play callers, it wasn't, people were mumbling, right? They weren't even giving me an answer. And I hung up the phone thinking this ain't going to go very well, right? Like this isn't, it's the same thing you heard about Coach Eberflus when he came from Indianapolis, and now they're all reporting he was about to get fired. Well, like you knew that 3 or 4 years ago. Like Bill Poland is from Indianapolis. How did he not know that? Right? Like it's just, this is the insanity going to Hallis Hall, man. It's just insanity right now.
We want our money back, Bill. You should have known this. All right, before we get out of here, it is our Illinois Tollway Look Ahead to the Seattle Seahawks. And the Seahawks have, let's see, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett, Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker. Like, they've got some good football players. Some have been banged up this year. They sit with a record of 8-7. Geno is back. He is going to throw for, 4,000 whatever yards. So your guys take, I don't get a prediction from Olin. We get keys. We get a prediction from Tom.
You want me first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kenneth Walker, right? You got to stop our defense, the D line. I don't know what's up with Javon Dexter. They got to stop the run. And then those receivers are dangerous. And you worry about, Leonard Williams there, probably the best D lineman the Bears have seen in a while. They'll go against, and Devin Witherspoon, a University of Illinois product, very good football player. But to be honest, guys, it's the first time I looked at it and said, man, maybe not that big of a mismatch on the coaching staff this week. I got studied a little more. But when you looked at the offense coordinator that Eric Washington has had to face in this run since he got the job, it's the best guys in the league. So I got to look at it a little more. But I think maybe our coaching staff matches up a little better against the Seahawks than they have in the last few weeks.
This is a tough game for the Seahawks. Like, they're still alive. They haven't been mathematically eliminated at 8-7. So I think that they'll be prepared. But you got to fly on Christmas Day, cross country. It's a Thursday game. They just lost a heartbreaking game to Minnesota, a game that they were leading at the very end. Geno has not taken care of the football. I think the defense has gotten a little bit better as time has gone on. Look, who are you going to be? Who do you want to be? You want to come out here on the night after Christmas and actually try to regain some of your self-respect as a football team, or you just kind of want to keep kicking the can down the street?
DJ said he's ready for vacation. Sounds to me like he's checked out.
1, 2, 3, Cancun. Let's go. That's what John always says. That's the battle cry. I don't know. I mean, look.
I didn't know Leslie Frazier was down there.
I would say, I still look. I'm in show me mode. Like I think the Bears would be able to score a little bit on them, but this game means more to the Seahawks than it does to us. So I could see us, in a difficult travel environment, still Seattle coming away with like a 23-20 win.
All right, guys. Bears get their head kicked in. I don't think it's going to be 40-3, but I think they're going to lose the game by more than a touchdown, probably double digits. I think that Seattle team is well coached, and I think they see They have got to find a way to win.
The far cry from Cap telling us they were going into the second round of the postseason before the ball was in the air week 1.
I did not say that.
I think you may have.
Yeah, you're just a fan, man. You like George. Don't worry about it. You're just
I'm just a fan. I'm not a football evaluator. Hey, Merry Christmas to you guys.
Yep.
And then
Merry Christmas, Cap. Merry Christmas, Tom, man.
We'll reconvene later in the week after that game. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful holiday.
You guys too.
See you guys.
All right, see you. For Tommy, for Olin, for our great crew here at the Recap, Merry Christmas to all of you. Take that.
Our Midwestern winters bring the toughest elements. Let the experts at Feldco keep your home and your family warm, safe, and comfortable this winter. Right now, get 30% off windows, siding, doors, and roofing. Plus, no interest for 1 year. With high-quality, American-made products built specifically for Midwestern weather, Feldco's got you covered. 30% off ends soon. Hurry, call now.
Call 866 for Feldco.
Feldco Football Recap Live is brought to you by Feldco. For quality windows, siding, and doors, call 866-4FELDCO, Chicago's home renewal experts. Your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers, the official truck partner of the Chicago Bears. Hooters. At Hooters, originality isn't just one thing, it's everything. World-famous wings and more, served up by the iconic Hooters girl. Hooters, always original. Dr. Pepper, an American original, just like our Chicago Bears. Grab an ice-cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you. Special Olympics Illinois. Special Olympics Illinois, so I did. Learn more at SOILL.org. Apt. For the best appliances for football season, shop at Apt. Pleasing people since 1936. Find them at apt.com. Four Seasons, heating, plumbing, air conditioning, and electric. For all the right reasons, Four Seasons. When you're on the tollway, peace of mind is just a call away. With the Illinois Tollway Star 999 service, help is always at your fingertips. Whether it's a flat tire or an unexpected breakdown, our dedicated team is here to assist you anytime and anywhere on the tollway. Drive with confidence knowing that Star 999 is just a dial away. Remember, Star 999, we're always there when you need us.
I'm craving
wings. Frigidaire's range lets you air fry right in your oven. It's all the flavor, none of the guilt.
so
Good. That's using your Frigidaire.
For free in-home delivery, professional installation, and complete satisfaction, shop at Apt, pleasing people since 1936.